It's been a few months since Ginny and Georgia Season 3 ended, and people are still trying to recover from that shocking finale. The season wrapped up with one of the biggest twists of the entire series, the possibility of Georgia being pregnant again. But the real question is, who is the father? Is it Paul Randolph, or could it be Joe, the man from her past who still clearly has feelings for her? Since the finale dropped, there hasn't been much news, but now we finally have some new updates about Ginny and Georgia Season 4 that you don't want to miss. So keep watching till the end to get all the answers and the latest details about the upcoming season. Filming for Ginny and Georgia? Season 4 has already begun in Toronto. The cast, including Brianne Howie and Antonia Gentry, returned to the set earlier this year to start shooting the new episodes on October 7th. This is exciting news for everyone who feared another long delay like the one between the previous two seasons. To get an idea of when we can expect Season 4, let's first look at Season 3. Production for Season 3 began in April 2024, almost 15 months after the release of Season 2, and wrapped around September 2024. The season then premiered a few months later on Netflix, marking nearly a 2-year gap since Season 2. Fans have been vocal about not wanting to wait that long again, and luckily, it seems Netflix has finally listened. With production already underway, there's a strong chance that Season 4 will arrive much sooner. I believe filming will wrap by March 2026, and with post-production taking about 6 more months, we could finally see its release in late 2026, most likely by November or December. Now, let's talk about that shocking ending of Season 3. In the final moments, we see Georgia drinking milk straight from the carton, while Ginny suddenly remembers that her mom once told her she always craved milk during her previous pregnancies. In that instant, both mother and daughter realize what's happening. Georgia might be pregnant. The scene cuts off right after that, leaving everyone in complete suspense. But the bigger mystery is, who is the father? There are many theories about who the father of Georgia's baby could be, but one of the most believable and dramatic ideas might be far more complicated than we think. At first glance, Paul Randolph seems like the obvious choice. After all, he's her husband, but their relationship has been crumbling for a long time. Paul has already seen the truth about Georgia's darker side, her lies, her manipulative charm, and her constant need to stay one step ahead. Ever since the shocking events of her trial, the trust between them has been completely broken. They're no longer living together, and Paul has even filed for divorce. But the situation becomes even more tangled when we remember that Georgia already lied to Paul once before, claiming she was pregnant when she wasn't. She used Ginny's old positive pregnancy test to convince Paul that she was expecting his child, a desperate move to save a marriage that was already falling apart. So now, if Georgia really is pregnant, reconnecting with Paul could lead to a much bigger storm. Paul might assume she's lying again, thinking it's another one of her tricks to manipulate him or win sympathy. So Joe is the only other person who could be the father of the baby, since we saw in Season 3 that he and Georgia were intimate. Their connection runs deeper than anyone else in Georgia's life. Joe has always represented the kind of love Georgia never believed she deserved. Honest, kind, and free of judgment. Their story goes way back to their teenage years, when they met by chance before Georgia ran away from her past. Since then, Joe has quietly remained in her life, often stepping in to help her when she needs it most, even when she doesn't ask. Unlike her relationships with Paul or Zion, being with Joe has never been about survival. It's been about connection, and that makes the idea of her carrying Joe's baby incredibly powerful. It could symbolize a full circle moment for Georgia, coming back to her roots, her origin, as the season's theme suggests. There's also a small clue from the finale that points to Joe. Throughout the season, the show focused on how Georgia and Joe's bond started to grow stronger again. Around Joe, Georgia seemed more like her true self than with anyone else. He's seen her at her worst, but still cares for her deeply. So, the most likely answer is that Joe is the father of the baby. Interestingly, the show's creator, Sarah Lampert, has teased that she actually knows who the father is, but keeps changing her mind. She admitted that when she entered the writer's room for the new season, she announced who the father was, only to later reverse her decision. Her comments suggest that the answer isn't just about timelines or logic, but about what feels most emotionally true for Georgia's journey. If the father was initially meant to be Paul, that would make sense in the context of Georgia's ongoing struggle with control and stability. Staying trapped in yet another relationship built more on convenience than genuine love. However, Lampert's later change of heart hints that the writers may have discovered a more meaningful direction, one that ties the pregnancy to Joe instead. This theory connects perfectly with what Lampert revealed about the new season's official theme: cycles and origins. Paul represents the cycle Georgia has always been trapped in, where she uses relationships for safety, while Joe represents her origins and the kind of genuine connection she has always been too scared to embrace. If the baby turns out to be Joe's, it wouldn't just be a shocking twist. It would symbolize Georgia finally breaking free from her old patterns and starting a more honest chapter in her life. Also, the word cycles could refer to Georgia repeating the same patterns that have defined her life: the lies, manipulation, and dangerous choices she makes in the name of protection. Throughout the series, we've seen her try to shield Ginny and Austin from pain, but in doing so, she often ends up passing her own trauma onto them. Now, as both children begin to mirror her behavior, lying, hiding secrets, and even breaking the law to protect her, Georgia is finally realizing that something has to change. According to Brienne Howie, who plays Georgia, this realization will lead her character to seek therapy for the first time, marking a major step toward healing and growth. The origins part of the theme takes things even deeper, promising to explore Georgia's past in ways the show has only hinted at before. The end of Season 3 teased the return of her mother and stepfather, figures who have been absent for most of her adult life. Their reappearance could unearth painful memories and reveal long-buried secrets about Georgia's childhood, offering a clearer picture of how she became the person she is today. Meanwhile, we also saw Georgia's estranged father trying to contact her from prison, warning her that her mother had lied about what really happened between them years ago. All of these storylines are set to collide in Season 4, pulling Georgia back to where it all began, forcing her to confront the people and choices that shaped her. This theme also ties into Ginny's transformation. As Sarah Lampert explained, Ginny is slowly becoming more like her mother, stronger, more cunning, and willing to do whatever it takes to protect her family. By the end of Season 3, Ginny had already proven how far she would go when she manipulated the situation to protect Georgia during the murder trial. In Season 4, we'll likely see her stepping even further into Georgia's shoes, blurring the line between right and wrong. Antonia Gentry, who plays Ginny, said that her character will come back from her trip to Korea with her father as a more confident and mature version of herself, ready to face new challenges. And as for whether this will be the final season, that's still unclear. Lampert said she originally planned to end the show with Season 4, but now she feels there might be more story to tell. It all depends on how Netflix decides to continue the series, but she admitted that it would feel rushed to end everything in just one more season.